Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anderson, and I'll be your instructor today for the Sunday school period. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about obedience, what it means to follow God, and also to listen to His directive and the consequences of not doing so. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, at this time, go ahead and take a few minutes, and I want you to think like your parents. I know it's kind of awkward. I know it's a little bit weird, but I want you guys to think like your parents. Okay? Think about if your parents were sitting here today, would they say you were obedient or not? Would they say that you were a good child, or maybe a bad child, or a misbehaving child? So I want you guys to take 2 to 3 minutes and just think about that. Okay? And then I'll call on you individually for your response. So this is an opportunity for me to give my students a little bit of time to think about putting themselves in another person's perspective, trying to think outside of the box, looking at the issues of obedience, disobedience, trying to get them in the right mindset, right framework. And then afterwards, after I give them a few minutes to think about it, I'll have them share their answers with the class. Now, little Johnny, would you like to share your response? If your parents were here today, if Mr. and Mrs. Smith were here today, would they say you were an obedient child or not? Describe it. Okay? Let's ask your peer group. What do your peers think? Miss Sandra, if your parents were here today, would they say you were an obedient, disobedient child? Would they say you had any discipline issues? What do you think? You're the golden child, right? Would they? I don't know. So here I'm going to be asking pointed questions to the students, getting them engaged, because sometimes you're going to have a student that says, hey, I was a perfect child, I listened all the time, I followed all the rules. Well, that may be great that they said that, but the truth may be something completely different. So now I'm going to go into an activity. So the activity I'm going to go into is you're going to get this nice box with these folded cards, and each card or each sticky is going to have a different concept on it. And on that concept, the students are going to be able to describe in their own words what it means to them. Johnny, you want to pick one? Susie, pick one. Pick one. Alright. On you guys' little note card right here, I want you guys to describe that concept. Okay? And I want you to formulate it. I want you guys to think about what that concept means. Okay? To be able to share with the class. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Okay, so first concept is courage. Who had courage? Okay? What does courage mean to you? Okay? Why is courage important? Okay. Alright, let's go to the next part. It's going to be obedience. What does obedience mean to you? Okay, obeying your parents. What about obeying your teachers or your elders? Okay. Are there instances where you may not obey somebody? If they tell you to do something wrong? Okay. What's the third one? Discipline. Discipline may be a little bit more challenging concept to grasp and to explain, okay? Because we don't really encounter that word all that often. So for us, discipline may be something different. Maybe think of discipline for your pets, the dog you take care of and whatnot. So they learn aspects of discipline, right? When to sit, when to jump. And then, for example, when someone comes to your house, they don't automatically jump. But when you tell them to sit, they sit, right? So that's an aspect of discipline. Okay? So we're going to encounter discipline as we go through the Bible today in Numbers 13. Okay, who had the next one? Here. Okay. So what is fear? for your tests. Yes for your quizzes. Yes for your parents. I know I fear my parents. I know I fear tests and quizzes, so I study very hard. Okay? What's the difference between fear and anxiety? Okay, and this is an opportunity where I let them explain themselves, because I want them to understand the difference between fear and anxiety. That fear can be healthy and the anxiety can be a bad thing. Okay, so what is anxiety? Anxiety is fear, but also there's an element of a lack of faith in anxiety that some people could say. But I want my students to kind of break that down. What's the difference between fear and anxiety? Okay, the last one is perspective, right? So for us, we all have different perspectives. Okay, we all look at things in a different way. We can have two different things. For those of you who like sports, right? Let's say Johnny and Susie, they both like opposing teams. Well, at the end of the game, one team's gonna win, one team's gonna lose. Johnny's gonna look at it one way, Susie's gonna look at it a different way. Okay? So here in Numbers 13 today, we're gonna look at different perspectives. Okay, the perspectives of the two spies, Joseph and Caleb, and also the perspectives of others. Okay? So what are our human perspectives? What are some of the limitations that we have as humans? And also God's perspective, how he looks at these things. Okay? So at this time, let's keep our notebooks or note paper and pads and pencils handy. All right, let's pick up our Bible and we're going to read Numbers 13. So I'm going to read Numbers 13, but I'm going to gloss over some of the family heritage or some of the family names that have long explanations. Now, if I had actual students in the class, I would have them read Numbers 13 in segments. So I'd break it off. Looking at Numbers 13, there's about 33 verses. So 33 divided by 5. Each person has about 6. One person has a little bit more. Oh well. So, Numbers 13. The Lord said to Moses, "Send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites. From each ancestral tribe, send one of its leaders." So at the Lord's command, Moses sent them out from the desert of Paran. All of them were leaders of the Israelites. These are their names: Shammah, Shaphat, Caleb, Igal, Hoshea, Palti, Gadil, Gadi, Amiel, Zedur, Nabi, Yul. These are the names of the men Moses sent to explore the land. Moses gave Hosea, son of Nun, the name Joshua. When Moses sent them to explore Canaan, he said, "Go up through Negev and into the hill country. See what the land is like and whether the people who live there are strong or weak, few or many. What kind of land do they live in? Is it good? Is it bad? What kind of towns do they live in? Are they unwalled or fortified? How is the soil? Is it fertile or poor? How are the trees on it or not? Do your best to bring back some of the fruit of the land." It was a season for the first ripe grapes. So right then and there, what does he do? So he first gives names of people, right? He tells everybody, hey, these are people that I've designated to go out and explore. Okay? Second, he gives them instructions on what kind of information he needs, right? So Johnny, if you go to a brand new place, what are some things that you want to look for? For example, let's say you're going to a new basketball, or you're going to play basketball at a new park. You've never been to that park before. You're going to try to look it up on, or have your parents look it up on Google Maps, right? What are some things you want to think about when you go there? Okay? Okay. What else? Okay, how big the court is, right? Is it a full court? Is it a half court? There may be different rules when you're playing full court and half court, right? Okay, if it's half court, you just take the ball back to the 3-point line, right? Versus if you're playing full court, you go running the full length of the court. Susie, if you're going to a brand new restaurant, or a brand new ice cream place, you've never heard of it, what are some things you would want to look as well, right? So whenever you're going somewhere new, just like they did in the Bible, these spies were told to gather certain bits of information to bring back, okay? Continuing. So they went up and explored the land from the desert of Zin as far as Rehob, toward Lebo, Hamath. They went up through Negev and went and came to Hebron, where Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, lived. Hebron had been built 7 years before Zon in Egypt. When they reached the valley of Eshcol, they cut off a branch bearing a single cluster of grapes. 2 of them carried on a pole between them, along with some pomegranates and figs. That place was called the valley of Eshcol because of the cluster of grapes the Israelites cut from there. At the end of 40 days, he returned from exploring the land. Now I know for us, especially for me, growing up, whenever I went to a new friend's place, their parents were always nice enough to send me back home with some good food. So I always had a plate of food going back home, whether it was for tomorrow or whether for that night. I always had a good plate of food and fruit from the family I visited. So for example, when I visited my family, Thomas, I would actually get a nice big plate of food coming back to my house from his parents, and that I would appreciate a lot because it was always free food, and it was also a show of their hospitality. Okay, it was also kind of a report of like, man, for me, it was, oh my goodness, they're great cooks, they're great at cooking noodle-based products. Okay. Continuing, they came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the desert of Paran. There they reported to them the whole assembly and showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this account: we went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here it is, it's fruit. So they bring back some of this fruit, right? A little sample of what's out there, okay? But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We saw descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites lived there. And then the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites lived in the hill country, and the Canaanites lived near the sea and along the Jordan. So they bring back some fruit, right? But then almost immediately they give kind of like the negative side of it, right? Kind of the bad part of the report. Oh my goodness, they're so strong. Look at these big people. Hey, there's a lot of walls around the cities. It's going to be a lot of fighting because back then, if you wanted to get in the city, you had to knock down a wall, right? You had to either go over the wall, you had to break through the wall, and that can be very dangerous, right? Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. So Caleb is one of the spies that says, hold on a second. Yes, there's negative reports. However, he's also takes a positive spin to it, saying, we can do it. Okay? So I want you to think about what we talked about earlier. Okay? Think about fear, which is that first group of spies, right? They had a little fear. You could kind of tell in their voices, right? And then also perspective. Okay, so think about how Caleb's perspective is different than their perspective. Okay? But the men had gone up with him and said, we can't attack those people. They're stronger than we are. And you're talking about fear again, right? They spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. They said, the land we explored devours those who survived in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. So fear now leads to anxiety, right? They're talking amongst each other, spies. They're telling each other, hey, we can't do it, it's impossible. Okay, so they're spreading that fear around, and fear and anxiety here catches on pretty quickly and it spreads like wildfire. We saw Nephilim, they're the descendants of Anak, come from Nephilim. We seem like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we look the same to them. So Numbers chapter 13 on sort of a negative note. We look at the spies who were given a negative perspective of the situation in Canaan. God had promised them a land flowing with milk and honey. Caleb was one of the spies. Joseph was another one who gave a positive report and positive analysis of this. Okay? They showed courage that even though they may be a smaller band, a small group of people, however, the Lord had promised them. So they were obedient to what the Lord had promised. Okay? They also showed discipline in that they were soldiers. Okay? They were sent on a task, and therefore they needed to keep that confidence amongst their peers. Okay? So I want you guys through 33. Okay? That's kind of the brunt of the analysis that's being given by the slide. Okay? There are some negative aspects to it, and I want you to take a moment, take a few minutes, and on your note cards, I want you to be able to describe one reason for taking the city and one reason for not taking the city. Once again, starting from verse 26 on to 33, I want you to provide one reason for taking the city and one reason for not taking the city, and be able to articulate that and explain that to the class when we return. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 to 5 minutes. So this is the part where I would allow the students to explain in their own words why it's important for us to be obedient to God. So through this analysis, when they're looking at it, specifically verses 26 through 33, I want them to be able to comprehend the concepts that we just covered. So we talked about courage, obedience, discipline, fear, and perspective. I want students to be able to look at it in their own way and to be able to analyze the Bible passage in that respect. I also want them to look at the analysis of Caleb and the analysis of Joseph and say, hey, why are these guys providing a positive perspective, and why are they able to provide a positive perspective in obedience while the other spies are kind of providing a rather negative perspective and looking at kind of the negative aspects of the situation and allowing that to engulf them and allowing that to take the dominant narrative in their report back. So I'm going to give students an opportunity to go ahead and do that. Okay. Guys, are we almost done? Okay. First two pairs of report. John and Susie. Who wants to go first? Give me one reason for why they should take the city. Go ahead. Okay, they give the response. Okay, what's for one reason not to take the city? Okay. There could be a lot of people getting injured, right, when they're trying to take the city. It could be a dangerous situation. Okay. What if they don't take the city? Okay. Okay, next group. And then I would give the groups an opportunity to explain themselves. So one person provides the positive reason for go ahead and taking the city. The other one provides a negative reason for why they should not take the city. So I let those 3 groups explain actually. So total ideal would be 6 people, 3 groups of 2. So they're going through, they're explaining, so that gives them an opportunity to provide, demonstrate comprehension of what they read, and also a little bit of analysis, because they understood the situation, they understood the consequences of the situation, and then we're also going to go ahead and apply that to current everyday life. So with that being said, it's going to roll into my application assignment. So now, ladies and gentlemen, with what you just read today, I want you to go ahead and take a sticky note or on a piece of paper in 3 to 5 sentences. I want you to explain or give me an example of the application of obedience, encourage, discipline, fear, or perspective. Specifically, I want you to cover obedience and courage. Give me an example from your life where God has told you to do something and you either obey Him or you disobeyed Him. And I want you to describe the consequences for doing so. So for the consequences of obedience would be something good that came out of it. Okay? Not everything is bad. Sometimes God tells you to do something that may be a little bit difficult on the front end. You're looking at it and it looks difficult. However, when you actually go through it and get it done, you'll be glad that you did. Okay, so there's positive consequences. Now, God tells you to do something and you don't do it. What are some of the negative consequences that follow after that? Okay, that's gonna be your application that I want you to take home today. So, 3 to 5 sentences. I want you to explain a situation in your life where God told you to do something, and you either obeyed Him or disobeyed Him, and the consequences of that action. And I want you to incorporate the concepts of courage and obedience into that. Okay? All right. Now, before we go, I want to round up to today's lesson. So today we went through Numbers 13 kind of fast. Okay? Numbers 13, the report of the 2 spies, Joshua, right, and Caleb. So how are these 2 gentlemen able to provide a positive perspective of the situation regarding Canaan, and what are the consequences of their report versus the consequences of the other spies' report? Okay? And this is going to lead into the next class, how we're going to incorporate this into the Israelites wandering in the desert, in the wilderness for a generation. So that generation who followed the spies' bad report, they're going to wander as well as kind of their consequences. And then the generation after that, we'll see what happens. Okay. So once again, the takeaways today for the concepts we covered: courage, obedience. I want you guys to incorporate that into an example in your life where you either follow it or do not follow one of God's commands and directives, and the consequences of that. Okay? So as you can tell, these application principles are still really relevant today. Okay? Now, before you guys go, do you have any questions at all in regards to the assignment, in regards to the content? And I like to finish the class a little bit earlier, usually about 5 minutes, till give the students an opportunity to kind of formulate some questions that they may have in regards to the topic, or maybe there's some current events that they think are relevant where the topic may come into play. So I want to be able to address some of those student concerns or questions that they may have, because they may not get addressed elsewhere, or they may be addressed in a different fashion. So therefore I want to make sure that students understand the content. First of all, that's the most important part. They can apply it and see the relevance of it in their everyday lives, and potentially if they have something going on in their life, or if there's any current events relative to the concepts that we cover in class, I want them to be able to have the opportunity to express themselves, and also kind of bring it up for the whole class, so the class can kind of take a look at it, provide some analysis, and also for application as well. So I know I'm doing this without students. It's kind of hard in regards to this whole COVID-19, social distancing, and a lot of folks being quarantined. Again, it is what it is. So please let me know your feedback, analysis on it. For me, I didn't want to go to a physical church setting because I didn't want to get potentially my fellow members sick. That's something that I didn't want to have on my conscience. So again, ladies and gentlemen, please provide feedback in light of that. Something that I can improve on as an instructor, maybe some of the questions that I need to ask that I didn't ask, some of the habits or aphorisms that you see that are detracting from my instruction. Please let me know and give me feedback on how to improve that. Thank you so much for your time. And this is a glimpse of my setup. So I've got the board behind me. So I'm writing stuff down. And then got a little setup of the table. Got my stickies, got my pens, got my Bibles. Always got to have a little food. You never know who's going to be in class, who's going to be hungry. And then this would have been the hat with the stickies in them. And the reason I chose the NIV Bible for this class is because I noticed that in a lot of the Bible studies for some of these younger churches, there's a lot of non-believers coming in. So, or very young Christians who are not mature in their faith compared to some of the older, more mature Christians. So therefore, I want them to have a Bible available, the NIV, where they can understand the key concepts and build that solid foundation.